Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning.
Hello.
How are you?
All right. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Do you want me to start off with my week?
Yes, please.
I know you like me to go first.
I do.
Okay, so my VA has been evacuated due to the volcano.
Oh, yes, I saw that she was in a bit of a...
Yeah, she's to go and stay with her mother, which actually, I've got to say, on the map, looks a little bit too close for my liking. But volcano is a lake. And so if it erupts, it's liable to send a tidal wave around to the surrounding areas. And she's close to the edge of the lake. So she's actually got a new house being built at the moment. So she's actually gone to stay there now because her mother's was a bit cramped for her husband and her child. So, but she's managing to get her work done in between all this moving around. So it's quite incredible, really, that you can be in the middle of a sort of, act of God emergency and still be able to get your VA work done, which is amazing.
I saw somebody on Facebook this morning who I half know, who lives up north somewhere, saying that they'd had an earthquake overnight. And all she could see was that the wardrobe doors had opened and various things had moved around in her home. I mean, we do have them in England. They're just not very dramatic. I mean, we haven't got any volcanoes, but we have earthquakes. Yeah,
well, in Greece, regularly get woken up by the bed shaking, which was a very strange sensation, let me tell you.
Yeah, and when my brother lived in Tokyo, they used to have them a lot, and you had to go and stand in doorways and all sorts of things like that. Yeah,
I've got an earthquake app, actually, that you used to, because it was so freaky. It's such a weird sensation, on a metal bed frame, vibrating.
Yes.
And I ended up just having to get the app just so that I could check with myself that it was actually an earthquake. And it was, there's an island just off the side of the Peloponnese which regularly experiences earthquakes, and that was where it was usually. But, very strange sensation indeed. So that was that, and then we went up to Cambridge to surprise Heather.
Yes, did the surprise go well?
Oh, God, Judith, I couldn't have planned it better. I took some roses and a card, and I thought she'd seen us because we were sitting right in the front row. It was a little bit hair-raising. We went up to see Paul and Philly first, and we had some dinner there and met Tiffany and had a lovely afternoon. And then we went over to a rather posh school called the Leys School in Cambridge, and we got there about 8:10, and it was due to start at past. I'm not joking, there were 10 people in this place. It was quite terrifyingly empty, but everybody piled in literally with 5 or 10 minutes to go. So the place sort of filled up really nicely. And they had been worried about bookings because the booking page hadn't been working for a while, and Heather found that out and managed to get them to correct it. And we'd actually done she'd made a rather lovely little video, which was her singing At Last with Dave, and photographs and everything, and it got 1,000 views on Facebook, which is quite amazing.
Brilliant.
And in 24 hours, literally, because she only did it sort of a day and a half before. And I said, right, but what she's done is she's kept the template, so she can now do little videos like that for each one of the tracks on the album. And I said to her afterwards, I said, there's a load of people who have gone and visited your website. I hope you've got a Facebook pixel on it. And she said, no, I haven't really. And I said, well, why would you now let me help you? Because she's coming round to the view that she's going to change her website to be all about her jazz singing. Because she says that she gets her classical singing from word of mouth referrals. So the website isn't necessary for that.
No.
And she wants to move more into doing lots of jazz singing because she has such a lovely time. Anyway, so what happened was towards the first half, I got a glass of champagne on the way in, which was very civilised. And then the first half, she went up. After the first half, they all went upstairs, and then some of the boys came down to get a drink, and she didn't come down. And I said to one of them, "Is Heather upstairs?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, don't tell her, but her sisters are here, and I've got some flowers for her." And he said, "Oh, well, if she doesn't come down now, she certainly will afterwards." And so she made a joke about halfway through the second half about Katie, her friend, who was also there, and she was sitting right next to us, and we were right in the front row. But apparently the lights were so bright she couldn't see any of us. So she still didn't know we were there. And then right towards the end, she said, "Well, this has been the most marvellous birthday party. Thank you so much for coming." And Dave broke into a jazz version of Happy Birthday, and everybody sang, and I thought, this is my opportunity. So I grabbed the flowers and I went straight down to the front of the stage and gave her the flowers and the card, and she nearly burst into tears because she didn't know we was there.
Bless.
And then she said, "Oh, thanks to my sisters who've come all the way from Brighton." And I thought, well, it wasn't that far. But I wouldn't have done it if Sarah hadn't been driving, because it was quite a heck of a drive. And Cambridge, whoa, the one-way system around there, my God. So, yeah, that was really good. I've spent an hour with her yesterday getting Facebook pixel on her site, and also creating audiences out of people who visit the site, people who visit her page, people who interact with the video, anyone who watches the video more than 25% of the way through. So at least, next time she's got a gig to promote, she'll have an audience of people to promote it to, and then lookalike audiences as well. So that's what I was doing yesterday. And I can't think of anything else this week. I mean, a trip like that, we didn't get back till 1 a.m, so I felt quite tired the next day.
Well, actually, I agree with her that Brighton to Cambridge is quite a schlep. But we could have a sort of a mini topic in our podcast, which is you and one-way systems.
Yeah, a subtopic.
Yeah, funnily enough, one-way systems should make things easier, not harder, because the traffic's all going in one direction.
Well, yes, exactly. But as we had one of those moments, those really big roundabouts where they're so big you don't really realise you're on a roundabout once you're on it. And they're sort of oval shaped, and they've got double lanes going off and more than 3 or 4, so it does get awfully confusing. Well, halfway round one of those, with roadworks on it, by the way, Sarah said, "Oh God, the phone's about to run out of battery. Can you plug the charger cable in?" I managed to plug the charger cable in, turn the hazard lights on, and open all the windows while she was driving around this roundabout.
You're a liability both behind the wheel and in the passenger seat. And the funny thing is, whenever you talk about one-way systems, there are always roadworks as well.
I know. They are the bane of my life. But no, it was very funny. And there was the Dartford Tunnel? Yeah, Dartford Tunnel Bridge.
It's the one where you go over the bridge in one direction and come back. It's the other way around. You went under going and you came back over.
Yeah, well, we would have done, except that it was closed.
Oh.
And the Google sat-nav sent us towards central London.
Yes.
Within glimpsing distance of Canary Wharf.
Yes, you should. That's the right way to go, because the opposite way is away from Brighton.
Yeah. Well, I was getting increasingly concerned with these signs for central London, but then I thought, no, I know Canary Wharf is quite a lot further out.
But also, why would that concern you?
Because we didn't really want to drive into the centre of London on a Saturday night.
Except that if you can't go over the bridge or the tunnel, it's the quickest way to Brighton from where you were.
Well, I didn't know that, but
no.
The Google lady did, and she knew about the Blackwall Tunnel, which is where we went. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's the next one over. And then if that one's shut, the next one over is the Rotherhithe, which I used to go through a lot when I lived in Canary Wharf.
Well, Sarah said to me, please stop talking about your superior knowledge of London and just let me listen to the good.
Yes, no, I'm with her there. Because you just want the person that says, turn left here, because you trust them. I agree with her. Yeah.
It was a very funny drive. We had a real good laugh all the way there and all the way back, and it was lovely to turn up and support Heather. And like I say, good turnout. So that was all very good. What about you? What have you been up to?
Yes, well, when Val and Steve arrived for work on Monday morning, the farm's front security gate was wide open, and it looked like someone had been trying to steal parts of it. Oh. So we had a lot of dramatic calls to and from Kenya, they were very concerned, we weren't particularly, and reports to the police. And this was just after I'd made up my mind I wanted to live on a farm in the middle of nowhere all by myself. But Leslie sent me an email that said, make sure you've got the phone plugged in upstairs. I said, would you stop worrying? She says, I know you've got no signal. Stop worrying about me. I feel absolutely fine. And I'm going to come back to this point later about safety, actually, because it also goes to that thing about the one-way systems and the roadworks. Where we feel safe and where we don't feel safe is a very strange thing. Anyway, we've had, I don't know about you, but we've had 4 beautiful sunshiny days, the weekend and Monday and Tuesday, and what I call murk. It's been murky since. But it's still very lovely and peaceful on the farm. It's not quite so beautiful in the murk and the mist as it is in the sunshine, but it's nice. My own website, funnily enough, has been down at least once for 2 weeks running, which is odd, and I wonder what it means, and I'm making woo-woo interpretations. The second time it happened, a nice man from Wisconsin let me know on my Facebook page. I think he said his name was Jim. How kind. I mean, normally, if a website wasn't working, you'd just move on, wouldn't you? Would you? Yeah, exactly. So it was helpful to have it reported when people noticed. And I got onto the hosting company, and they fix it in seconds. And I said, it had this error last week, and it's got it again. What's going on? And they pleaded, spikes or something. I don't know. And then I wondered, how often do you ever check your website? Is it worth checking our own websites once a day? And then it occurred to me that even if you did that, given that the downtime is so short, you could go and have a look, and you'd think it's all right, and then it would fix itself, and you'd never know.
Well, I don't have this. I mean, I'm always on my
Well, you don't know that you... Oh, are you? Okay. Yeah. Well, I've only had it twice in 2 weeks, and then not... But this time last year, or it may have been the year before, I was down for quite a long time, I remember.
Yeah. Well, that's really quite worrying, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is...
Well, no, not a database spike twice in 2 weeks. That hasn't happened since. But, and hasn't happened in the other 50 weeks of the year.
That sounds very suspicious to me.
Well...
They'll say anything. That first level support will just say anything to get you off the phone. So.
I find them quite helpful, actually, and I certainly don't phone up. The first one I did in an email by opening a help ticket, and the second one I did live on chat, and they fixed it while I was there. And because it was the same fault, I knew it only takes nanoseconds to fix, which is quite good. Anyway, I'm quite confident now, because I was quite assertive with them. I said, please explain why this has happened twice in 2 weeks so that I know it won't happen again next week. It's not what you pay hosting for, is it?
No, it isn't. And they didn't offer you any rebate on your month's hosting, I take it.
Well, I was only down for like 20 seconds both times. But anyway, and in a similar vein, there was I got an email, I can't remember who it was from now. I think it might have been one from one of those gambling sites that we used when we were...
Spread betting.
If it wasn't one of the gambling sites, it was something very similar that I hardly ever use and barely think about. And they let me know that they'd been hacked, and the people had got away with, my name and address, telephone number, password, credit card details, and everything. I don't know what it was. I can't even remember now. Normally I sort of ignore those, but for some unknown reason over the weekend I thought, well, I might go and see what they're talking about. And I had a look at all the passwords that Google saves to me, and followed their advice to change all the ones that had been compromised. And so that was quite reassuring. But I hadn't realized that Google has remembered literally hundreds of passwords for websites, which I regularly use and find handy. But they want you to have a unique password for each site, which is simply not practical. But I have tightened up my own password security, put it like that.
Yeah. I use LastPass, which I find invaluable because it's also got an app for the phone. So you don't, it literally works. You just put your finger where the password should be, and LastPass pops up, and you put your fingerprint in, and then LastPass finds the right password and puts it in for you. It's marvellous.
And then again, this is something that's never happened to me before in all these years of hacking and things. So there's sort of been a week of sort of rarities. Anyway, going on with the normal audit of the strange Facebook friends. I'm up to 125 now. And I saw a woman yesterday saying that she'd had nearly 300, which was interesting. And she put a very interesting post on Facebook that said, for all my new Facebook friends, I've had nearly 300 in a month or something, eek, here's something about me. So I copied her actually and tagged her in it. And somebody said they quite enjoyed it. But anyway, I will tell you this, that the blunders, the blunders by these new friends continue. One sent me, this is so funny, one sent me a private message which invited me to a presentation called Rock Your Financials for 2020. And she said, it's the start of a new year, so why not take the decision to get a grip on the financial aspects of being in business? I'm hosting a talk on the topic in just a few hours, and if you sign up, you will get access to the recording. When I replied that I was an accountant who'd been self-employed for 42 years, she said, I forgot. Which I took to mean, I've never bothered to have a look at your profile or work out who you are, my new friend.
Brilliant. I get a lot of people approaching me on LinkedIn now, trying to sell me the exact same thing that I do for other people.
Oh, yeah, bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me what's fueled your fire.
Well, before I go there, let me just say Phoebe got her purse nicked on things of rarity happening. She got her purse nicked on Saturday night.
Okay.
I woke up to a text message that one word, it said fuming. And she wasn't so much annoyed about the cards and everything, or the purse even, because she wanted a new one anyway. But she was most annoyed about things like her coffee loyalty stamps, and her Nando's loyalty stamps, and various other things like that she'll never recover. So she spent a whole day getting replacement Co-op cards, replacement Tesco cards, and all this stuff. But yeah, fuming she was.
I'll tell you what that reminds me of. When I went to Japan in about 92, I was burgled while I was gone. And I wasn't really worried. Oh, yes, I was. I was going to say I wasn't really worried about anything I'd lost. And I'm lying, because actually my grandmother's engagement ring was stolen. I was worried about that. But I was very cross that in those days we used to video television programs while we were away. I was very cross that the things I'd videoed, they'd stolen the television and the video player. So all the programs I'd videoed during my Christmas holidays in Tokyo had been stolen.
Oh, that's so annoying.
It is. And of course now it wouldn't matter, but in those days that lost forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we could just go online and stream it, from an app.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what annoys us about things.
Oh yeah, and she didn't, and a blood donor card and things like that.
Yeah.
And things that she, proved she'd done certain things. It was so funny.
Yes.
Fuming she was.
Yes, poor sausage.
Yes. So this week, what's fueled my fire is I've been learning about writing.
Yes.
It's so interesting, and it really made me realise how we have different levels of learning. That whole unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, unconscious competence, etc., etc.
Yes, yes.
Well, I had, I put my book aside because I felt I got to the soggy middle, as it's known, and I didn't feel my villain. And as I carried on learning about writing, I learned things like that I wasn't writing a sci-fi book.
No, you told us it's a niche issue, you said.
Exactly.
Yes.
And also, my villain was no good. And I couldn't make it dark enough. I didn't know how to make it dark enough. It felt too light. It felt like Red Dwarf or A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy rather than one of the books by the people I admire. So I put it to one side and I put it down, and I carried on learning how to write screenplays, putting novel writing aside for a moment. And then I was listening to something on Sunday morning about just writing generally, and something really clicked in me, and I thought, I wonder if I went back and re-planned out the book, if I'd be able to do it through that soggy middle. Because I didn't really know what was going to happen in the middle. I didn't really know. I knew what I wanted to happen in the end, but I didn't know how it was going to happen. So I went back and I thought I put all the things I've learned recently, which is the 3-act structure, the 5 commandments of storytelling, and then the the required scenes for certain kind of genres of books. And I put all those 3 things together into a sort of plan. I did it all away from the computer as well, so no spreadsheets involved. It was all just my diary and a pen. And I found that I was able to plan my way through the book and fill in the gaps of what should happen, what I wanted to happen, and how it could happen. And then it all just came together in a glorious, glorious plan for a book that I can now go back to, slot in the scenes that I've already written, and then write the scenes that I need.
I do think that is how it should happen. That you plan it in advance. You don't just start off and hope it all works out.
Well, that's right, because you need to be able to make sure certain things happen to satisfy the reader. But the beauty of it was that it made me realise how I wasn't ready before, and how putting it to one side, how I like to get everything done. I like to go at it like a bull in a china shop. I like to get it done hell for leather. But on this, the creative process sounds a bit wanky and pretentious, but the creative process can't be hurried, especially when you don't have the knowledge or the tools deep in your bones to be able to move forward. Sometimes you just have to put things aside. And I suppose that's why so many writers work on different projects at once, with something we've always advised against in business, because you have to keep writing to keep your muscle strong. So you have to go off and do something else on another project while that one's marinating in the background over there, perhaps.
I always thought it was the sort of the publishing industry that made them write multiple projects simultaneously, because it takes so long to get a book published orthodoxly. And I do think 1,000 words a day can be on any topic. They don't need to be on the project per se. No. But I do think the first point you made about putting things aside applies to life generally. not just creative projects.
Yeah, I've never really been very good at that, as you know.
Yes.
You are quite good at waiting, at putting things to one side and waiting, aren't you?
Well, I definitely believe in when the time is right, things whoosh forward.
Yes. Well, I had a big whoosh on Sunday. It was lovely.
Yes, good.
Really.
So your fire has been fueled by a big whoosh.
Yes, it has, but it's a whoosh fueled by learning something new that layered on top of the learning I already had.
So it felt like a sort of key opening a door.
Yes, it did, exactly.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, marvellous. What about you?
Being called Smarty Pants by a newish client.
Okay.
She sent me a message on private on PM, on Facebook on Monday or Tuesday morning. I love it. I love it when I get those because I know what they're going to tell me. You're not going to believe it, but something's gone fantastically well. And it said, "Okay, Smarty Pants. I put a small painting on Instagram yesterday morning, and it's sold by dinner time."
Oh my God, that's amazing!
I know.
You sell art on Instagram.
Absolutely. Guess who suggested that might work?
That'll be you then.
Yes. So she goes, "Okay, Smarty Pants, I put a small painting on Instagram yesterday morning, sold by dinner time, thank you." Now she knows she can.
Yes.
And it just goes right to that place that I totally believe about these artists, which is if you show it to people, they'll buy it. You don't have to sell it.
Oh, I've got such a great story to tell you.
Just show it to people.
Yes, show it. Don't hide your light under a bushel.
Yes. So that's it. That's it. I quite like being called Smarty Pants. That's all I'm saying, really.
Okay, so what about your focus of the week then?
Yeah, I read an article on something called smallbiztrends.com. It's the sort of article I would normally swerve. I must have Googled it for looking for a challenge for today, and it says the 10 biggest challenges for small business owners.
Oh, lovely.
Yawn. Oh, how interesting. You think that's lovely, and I think it's interesting. Anyway, the one I picked out of the 10 is about staying passionate, and it says, because I think you and I have both felt a bit stale occasionally. In the daily grind of living, it is crucial more than ever to be obsessed with what you're doing. Otherwise, the quality of your product/services suffers, thereby giving your customers a shoddy experience, which inspires them to take their business elsewhere. That is why obsession is a critical component. I'm not sure about this, but we're going to discuss it. When you're obsessed, working 14-hour days isn't as big a hassle. Without obsession, you're more likely to let your small business fold instead of fighting for it. Without obsession, work becomes another mindless grindstone to put your nose to. If you're still thinking about starting a business, make sure you're selling a product or service that you are passionate about.
Well, as the ex-guinea pig whisperer, I have to agree with this. There's many, 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 many times I've come across brilliant ways of making money online that I've thought, oh, I'll have a go at that. But within a day, probably usually, just because I didn't have any passion for it, it abated and then died.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't able to force myself to carry on.
No, I agree.
It's a bit like the franchise model thing, isn't it? There are lots and lots of people who successfully follow other people's systems and make money like automated machines. But I think it's definitely linked to the creativity side of things. I think the less creative you are, the better you're able to follow someone else's system. And you don't have to be passionate about what you're doing. But I totally agree with the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't want to be obsessed. I don't want to work 14-hour days. I don't believe that without obsession, you're more likely to let your small business fold. I think obsession is far too big and uncomfortable a place. I think passion is okay. Obsession, not. Obsession, you turn into a sort of stabby, what do they call those people, like bunny boilers, that's all. Yes. You'd stab your other half, it's not good. But yeah. I did feel, and I still feel, that marketing of my own business had become a mindless grindstone. So I love coaching as much as I ever did. I'm passionate about the difference it makes in people's lives. But at some point nearly a year ago, marketing my own business became a mindless grindstone, and I haven't changed my mind about that yet. But I am still passionate about my business and would be forever. And if I wasn't, I would give it up.
So interesting that you say this, and I can't understand, and perhaps that's a miracle that can never be explained. I can't understand how, when you've stopped marketing your business entirely, Apart from, well, you haven't really, have you? You do still do the things you enjoy.
Well, I don't do newsletters and I don't do blogging.
Yeah, but
that's what I stopped.
Interact on social media still, don't you?
No, only Facebook.
Only Facebook. So yeah, well, but that's where a lot of your customers are, apart from Instagram, isn't it?
I'm not on Instagram. I'm only on Facebook. I'm not on LinkedIn because it never brought me a client in 15 years. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, but I just go and have a look at other people stabbing each other. It's a horrible, vile climate. I don't do any of the visual ones for obvious reasons. I'm only on Facebook, but I work it, and I do like that, and I don't find that mindless grindstoning.
No, because what is that? Because
I'm communicating, which is my number one thing that I love doing.
Yeah. Do you do all your own Facebook yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Got nothing else to do though, have I?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Apart from coaching.
Well, that's it. But that's all we've ever got to do, which is market, get new clients, and deliver the coaching. So
you haven't stopped marketing. You've just stopped doing the bits of marketing.
Well, it feels like I gave up about 75% of it, to be honest. Yeah. I used to do this much Facebooking before as well.
Yeah. And your clients have carried on coming at the same rate?
No. And not. I mean, what I'm saying is I stopped doing the newsletters and the blogging because I felt neither of those were working. So, no. Clients have not carried on coming at the same rate for about the last 5 years.
I really feel that email marketing is dying a death in certain.
I predicted that on this podcast almost as soon as we started it.
I do. I mean, I was, funny enough, at the weekend, Sarah was telling me all about this woman, that Helen, someone who does this LinkedIn training, and she was telling me about how she does it. And then we got to Paul and Philly's, and they discovered that Paul had also been following this woman as well. So we talked quite a lot about what she does, and what she does has absolutely no email component or blogging component or website component at all. She does it all on social media. And it's a really interesting system, which I'm now putting into place for myself, because I just can see that, people are just getting less and less interested in open.
Well, I knew that in advance, because not only do I see things like that, but it's been about 5 years, maybe more, since I stopped putting my email address into anything online, because I don't want anything more in my email inbox, even things I'm interested in. Funnily enough, that's not where I'd rather read it on Facebook, because it's easier. I'm just online and there it is. I don't have to have it in my computer.
Yeah. And perhaps that's another component, is that people are not having computers, so they can't download things. They can't, they want it where they can see it, where they are.
Yeah, where they're interacting with it live in a funny sort of a way. And also, what we realized was, I mean, I've believed this for quite a long time, and I try and discourage my clients. They generally don't go for it because they've been brainwashed by too many other gurus. But I've never really believed in the ethical bribe either. People don't want more digital information. A PDF to read, or maybe they wouldn't mind a little audio to listen to if it's, say, meditation or something like that. But yeah, I think the world, and this is a terrible shame for me, the world has fallen out of love with, except for women, people of my age, they've fallen out of love with reading as a way of acquiring knowledge.
Very true. People want to watch videos now. Even I prefer to watch a video than read something nowadays. And I'm a reader, so I don't know where that's going. It's interesting, isn't it?
Anyway, let's talk about what to do when you fall out of love with your business. Is there a way of falling back in? Or is this one of those things that, like you just said, where we put it aside for some time? Because certainly I think there was a period where I wasn't, once I get on a call with a client, I absolutely love it. And I think perhaps there was a period of time when it wasn't just the marketing I fell out of love with. That had a knock-on effect, because when I'm marketing, I'm talking about how much I love my business and the work I do and sharing the results with clients. So it's all I maybe fell out of love with my business, with delivering the coaching, never with the clients. But there is that thing, isn't there, where that you and I have both felt, and a lot of people I know feel it as well, where you sort of, leading up to the minute the call starts, you sort of dread it a bit, and then as soon as it starts, you're fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I found, with helping Heather this week, I said to you last week, I don't know, I might look for a change of career in the next 10 years. And then I ended up helping Heather, and I was so passionate.
Passionate, yeah.
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 And so passionate about what could be done, and the fact that she hadn't been doing any of it, and the fact that 1,000 people have watched that video, we didn't have any way of reaching those people, and about, you know, how much still small businesses have got no idea what they could be doing to improve things for themselves. I'm passionate about that. What I'm not passionate about is, like you say, the grind of trying to get leads when nobody's opting in for things anymore, and you know, how can you reach people if you haven't got their email address? So the marketing for me was becoming a grind, because it wasn't working as well as it had done 5 years ago.
I think that's an interesting point you just made about how can you reach people who haven't got their email address. That's really quite out of date thinking.
Well, it's...
What I'm saying is, it's what you learned at the beginning and what we both relied on for quite a long time. And we have to wake up to the fact that there are other ways of achieving the same end. I mean, I think we both have, but what I'm saying is, there's no point. The mindless grindstone thing, and that's why I stopped the newsletters, is when you go on flogging a dead horse.
It's so interesting because I've got 2 different businesses. I've got one business that's aimed at mentoring, which is where it's all online, it's all social media, it's about social media, it's actually teaching people how to use social media to reach their clients. And then I've got Clicks and Leads, the agency, which I'm working with a very experienced businessman to you know, get going, because I've left it alone for such a long time. And he is giving me exactly the opposite feedback. He said, you know, the kind of clients we want to reach with Clicks and Leads are the kind of clients who will see something online on social media. They will never comment. They will very rarely even like. They're lurking in the background watching. When they want to find out if they want to hire you, they come to your website. I said to him only yesterday, I said, so what would you want to do when you got to a website? Would you want to book into the diary? Would you not want to make a phone call? He said, I would want to download something, knowing that the email I got would then remind me to get in touch with that business if I like the look of what I downloaded. So
yeah, and that's old thinking as well, but it's fine. It's fine. So what it does is it dictates a certain age of client.
Yes, and a certain type of client.
Yeah.
And so I think...
And I don't want those. Or rather, my ideal clients don't behave like that. No,
they don't. And my ideal clients for the mentoring don't behave like that. They're much more like, you know, your
modern
clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to be very hyper aware of who your ideal client is, because that will dictate the kind of marketing you do.
Right. We're getting off the point, which is about staying passionate. How do we stay passionate in business? So what we've identified now is marketing concerns can sometimes drag us down. What can relight our fire?
Well, I think having clients that appreciate you and express that appreciation and pay you, that helps you keep passionate about your business.
I agree.
Harder. It's very hard, unless you're really not very kind to yourself, to remain passionate about something or someone that doesn't love you back.
Yes. I think there's another thing here as well. Let me just think. You've still got, what keeps you passionate is when you're still challenged by the topic that you're teaching people. So once you crack it, you lose interest. That's my experience.
Yes, well, I mean, the thing about internet marketing is that it's you never crack it.
You can't crack it because it keeps moving like a wiggly worm. Yeah,
which is one of the things I love about it, but it can also be exhausting, because just as, you know, this whole thing about, okay, so if you've got to change your entire method of marketing from something you've been doing successfully for the last 24 years, it can become a little bit of a daunting thought to think, I've got to change everything again.
I agree, especially at our stage of life. It's annoying that things that have always worked don't keep working. And I think this doesn't just apply to marketing, it applies to business generally.
Yes.
Everything keeps moving.
Yes, it does.
Keep up.
Do you think... Oh, no, see, I don't want to accept that I'm getting too old to keep changing. I want to be able to keep changing until I'm 80 or something. Do you think...
Well, no, I do think we can keep changing till we're 80. What I'm saying is, the older you get, the more annoying it is that the thing you've always done doesn't keep working.
Yes.
Because what we want really is a more peaceful, simpler life. We don't want it to remain complicated.
No. So
I do think change is possible. That's back to the neuroplasticity. I do. I mean, and that's what keeps us interested, keeps us in the game.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm learning something completely new from scratch. So that's taking care of my neuroplasticity as far as I'm concerned. But in the meantime, business owners, they have to, I mean, let's think about it from a bigger business point of view.
Can I just say one thing before we go there? I've realised the answer to it for me. If I'm feeling not passionate, what have I got to do? Be with a client.
Yes.
Because one client, just working with any one client, makes me passionate again about what I do. Going back to being called Smarty Pants, one tip led to a sale. Hooray! I'm back in the game.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, I absolutely love turning up for my Q&A sessions every Thursday as well, because, you never know what people are going to come. And last week, in fact, someone came and she said, oh, well, I haven't actually got any challenges. I just came to keep myself accountable and keep myself in the right mind space. And then we ended up having a really, really, really whole hour conversation about Google Analytics and how you can go deeper with it and find out what people are actually doing. And I told her about a plugin that tells you which buttons people are clicking on which pages and things like that. So I ended up getting, she ended up getting fired up about something she never even, if you'd have said, oh, you're going to enjoy talking about Google Analytics for an hour, pitch up to this call and do that, she probably wouldn't have turned up. So.
Well, Michael Neal always used to say that when a client turns up and says, I don't know what I want to talk about, to say, oh, those are the best ones.
Yeah.
Go back to the point you were about to make. You said in a bigger business, and then I cut you short.
Yeah, in a bigger business, how do you think, because business founders move from being the person who has to do everything to the person who hires and trains people to do things, and then he's the holding the vision of the company and supervising the well running of the good running of the machine. Do you think it's easy to become passionate when you've got more time to think about things, or do you think it's easier to become passionate when you're in the thick of it, doing?
On a simplistic basis, on the second one, when you're in the thick of it, doing. But it's interesting you use the word vision, because I thought, well, when she gets to the end of this question, I'm going to have to talk to her about what bigger businesses do, which is vision and values, where you hold the vision and your staff are either engaged by the vision and passionate to work with you under your leadership, or they're not, in which case they really need to move their job and go and work somewhere else, both of which I've seen. It's quite a hard sell. I think in a bigger business, you're more, as an employee, if you're not the leader, you're more coggy in the wheel. You feel more like a cog, don't you? I don't know how people in jobs stay passionate about working in other people's businesses.
Perhaps they love being a cog and doing a good cog job.
Oh, I think they do. And I think they find other things like humour and camaraderie and somebody to say to them. Nobody ever says to us, except for Thursday mornings, nobody ever says to us when we come down in the morning, hello, Judith, how are you today? Nobody ever says that, do they? And those social reasons, the main reasons why people go to work.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
That people notice whether you're dead or alive and that you've turned up today. And somebody might say, would you like me to make you a cup of tea? It's all quite human.
The only job I've ever had that I was absolutely passionate about was, because I was always in between entrepreneurial gigs, obviously. Every time I ever had jobs, was when I worked for Benny, because he was such an inspirational person. He was always learning, always interested. He modelled the epitome of what a great leader stroke boss is. And when I worked for the guy who owned all the antique centres and the hotels and things, and I remember that's why I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because I wanted to be the best employee he'd ever, because he took a chance on me. I pursued him when I applied for a job I wasn't suitable for, and he gave me something else because he saw something in me, and I really wanted to be the best I could be for that, because he'd inspired me to be. So I was passionate about that job, and I did it to the absolute utmost of my ability until I was headhunted elsewhere.
Well, I was passionate about the very few jobs that I had between 1973 and 1977. But what I was passionate about was bettering myself.
Yes.
I hadn't realised at that point that the employment was going to be so short-lived to me, and that I was bettering myself to be self-employed. But I always wanted to be good.
So do you
at whatever I was doing,
Yeah. So do you think that's the key to passion then? It's not about the job per se, and it's not about the business per
Is
se.
it about bettering ourselves, growing, being good at something, feeling that we're professional and getting a buzz off something well delivered? It says that here. It says if you lose the passion, you start giving your customers a shoddy experience. And I think actually when we look at bigger businesses, we see, well, that's pretty much all we see, isn't it?
We've
Shoddy
talked about that,
experience.
haven't we? Customer service. What episode was that?
I don't know. But, if you went to a big business, I mean, when we talk about what's inspired us, it's usually where we've seen exceptional examples of people who deliver above and beyond. Yesterday, the Ocado man came, and it's my third delivery since I've been here. And the weeks 1 and 2 was this hero called Darius or something, who'd come through not just the road closure but also flooding. And yesterday the man's name was Steve, because Darius had told me he was going to be on night, so he wouldn't be my man yesterday. And Steve rang me to say I'm going to be late. Instead of between 1 and 2, I'll be after 2. And I said, oh, it doesn't matter, I work at home. And he went, oh, thank you so much, as if the average Ocado housewife is a miserable cow who complains if they're going to be late, which is highly likely. But when he got here, he told me, he said, you've no idea how many road closures I've been through. And wow. I did, of course. But the fact is, he's passionate, isn't he, to get the... I mean, I don't think I said this to him, but I thought, I don't know what I would do given the road closures if you didn't get my groceries to me.
Yeah.
Because he's in a van and I'm in a little car. So I suppose the answer's starve. I mean, it's not quite that dramatic, but you know what I mean? He was passionate about... He's a knight of the road, and he had some honour in getting here.
And I think that really makes it a job so enjoyable if you can care so much about it that you become a knight of the road.
Well, I think it becomes nice if the person you deliver to is somebody like me, who is very, very grateful for all services well carried out. I'm a lovely client.
Well, there you go. We come back to the fact that it's easy to be passionate about your job when you're appreciated and honoured for what you do.
Oh, maybe it's as simple as that, Nicola.
Yeah, yeah. There was something lurking about in the back of my mind, but it's gone. So
I'll hover. Let's hover, because usually they come back.
So it was something about the thing of how to rekindle your passion. I think the thing is to think about how you can improve your skills, improve your knowledge.
I think it might be back to that thing that made us both groan last week. Your big why. Why did you go into it in the first place? And does that still pertain for you? If it doesn't, time to move on.
Yes. I'm just thinking about how much I enjoyed helping Heather this week.
Well, it's interesting you just say that, because remember my school report when I was 6, Judith is a nice, helpful little girl. Helping. We're helpers. Both of us are helpers.
Yeah, true. Fixers and helpers.
We're helpers. And, if we feel we've helped that one today, like the starfish story, one a day to help. That there's another lovely quote, isn't there, about if somebody has breathed easier because you've lived. That's one person in your lifetime. If one person has breathed easier, well, my target's about one a day.
But one person a day does not a business make. You have to reach many more people than that to make a living.
Well, it depends. One a day does make a business for me at this stage of my life, yes. I mean, I've got 2 this afternoon, and most days I have 2, but it does. It depends what you're selling and at what price.
Yeah.
That woman who called me Smarty Pants, one picture sold on Instagram is enough for a day's output.
And also, just, what pops into my mind there is we're always going to buy from someone who's passionate about what they do rather than someone who seems, distant and corporate, aren't we? And that's why I think there's this rise of, which actually my very grown up business pants mentor doesn't approve of at all. He's flatly banned me from going live on Facebook. Because he says no matter how passionate you are, if you're trying to sell to people who are corporate and grown up, then they're going to expect you to be corporate and grown up, and they're not going to. So, but the kind of clients that I appeal to on the mentoring side of things will always buy from someone who's passionate and who cares about them.
Yeah. So when it's B2C, it's about individuals.
Yes.
Sorry, why have you been banned from Facebook Lives? I don't understand that.
Because the quality is just not the good. The internet's not good enough here to do it, and it comes out fuzzy and not good enough lighting and all that sort of stuff. No matter what ring lights I use or whatever, the internet just isn't good enough. So I'm only allowed to do videos if I could record them in advance and then upload them, because you get a better quality that way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I sent him a load of examples of people being passionate to camera on LinkedIn, so business environment, selling big business digital marketing services. People like Dan Knowlton and the guys from Goat Agency and people like that, and Stephen Bartlett from Social Chain. And he said, yes, but they're all young men selling to young men. So, it's not going to work for you trying to do that he was very polite, actually. He said, as a more mature lady. I thought, no, I know what you're really trying to say here. But so and the thing is, it's interesting because I'm carrying on doing my thing in my normal way for my normal business, the mentoring, but clicks and leads, I'm taking advice because I want to do more of it because I'm passionate about it. But I need to find the right way to approach the right kind of client. So that's why I'm taking advice about how to do things differently. And because I want to work with more proper businesses who I can really help. It's like Heather, she's got a fantastic product and I can really help her with some really basic stuff that she's not doing right now. And I know there are lots of other businesses out there that I can help by doing what I think is really basic stuff, which they think is witchcraft and magic, to bring them more clients. But I have to attract those clients in order for them to see how passionate I am.
So what we've done in this conversation is something I would recommend the listener does for themselves, which is we've both worked out and we've come to the same answer, what we're passionate about. We're passionate about helping people.
Yes.
So if you know what you're passionate about, do more of it. You're going to stay passionate.
And work out how to get in front.
Work out how to solve these problems that come up in any business. Yes.
And work out how to get in front of people who are the right kind of people who will love and appreciate you and pay you properly. Because
interestingly, this paragraph from this article uses the expression "daily grind" in the opening sentence and "mindless grindstone" in the middle. And now I'm wondering whether it doesn't speak more to the author of this article than it does to us.
Yes. Yeah, because she must be writing about her own experience.
Well, because no matter how bad it's got, it was a bloke, I think, actually, no matter how hard it's got, neither of us have ever felt in the daily grind of living. You might have done after Steve died. And or in our work, have we ever felt that it's a mindless grindstone?
No, never mindless, never a grindstone.
No, quite. Two quite punishing words.
Yeah. I think mindless means that they don't have any creative input, and grindstone means they have to do it whether they like it or not. And we are lucky enough as self-employed people that we don't have to do either.
We have choices, yeah.
Yeah. Are the other 10 as good? The other 10 things on that list?
I didn't think any of them were good, really. I don't believe in challenges. Now, let's go to words of the week. Tell me about your word of the week.
Consistency, because it's so hard. I'm trying to put a segment of Own It every single day, 10-minute segment, every single day on LinkedIn, perhaps not at the weekends, although that's an opportunity to put something up where people might enjoy something a bit more lighthearted, perhaps. But it's so hard. It's so hard when you've got other things to do, when it takes forever to upload a video on this rubbish internet, and when you keep getting interrupted in between things. So it's, that's my word. I'm trying to be consistent, but it's so hard.
Have you explored whether it's possible to get better internet?
Yes, I've spent endless hours on the phone. Do you know how bad it is, right?
I was thinking from a different supplier.
No, there's no different supplier. They all come through BT here because we're on the high street. I'll tell you how bad it is, right? It's actually easier. Well, it's not easier, it's more complicated, but it's faster, far, far faster to upload a 10-minute video on my 4G from my mobile phone. So I can tether my computer to my mobile and get a video up in 2 minutes, whereas it would take 15 to 20 on the BT internet here. Shocking.
I remember Sue O'Kell always moaning about how long she had to sit and wait. I mean, there's another downside of video in a way, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Even I compress them, it's not like I'm trying to upload them uncompressed.
Yeah.
Just absolutely bad, but there's no answer to it. Phoebe's tried many times because her business depends on it, and we just can't get any sense out of BT about why it's so bad.
So in terms of sort of priorities, Shoreham is not a big market for BT's Superfast.
No, we have Superfast all over Shoreham, just not on the high street because there's no residential people.
Ah, gotcha. You might have to move.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
What about your word of the week?
My word is safety, and I'm coming back to the point I was going to make earlier about how often it's an illusion. The security gate was more of a worry to my friends in Kenya than it was to the three of us here. Certainly when they came in on Monday morning and said, somebody's tried to steal the security component of the gate, even that didn't faze me. I didn't go into panic or anything like that because I feel safe here. And I remember Gareth, my middle nephew, on 9/11 when I was living in Canary Wharf, which is a great big tower like the ones that have been, flown into in the States. Come to us, come to us. Well, I went home to my flat under the tower of Canary Wharf, feeling that my home was safe. So my word is safety, and I'm very aware that it's often an illusion.
Yeah, very much so. Project updates then.
You go.
Okay. It's come from what you said, actually. You asked me earlier on. How many downloads have we had, and is it growing? In fact, you didn't ask me, is it growing, but I knew that would be a question you'd be interested in having answered. And the Right Club podcast ladies taught me how to work this out. It's basically work out what your average is over the whole time and see if you're doing better lately than you have done over the whole time. So,
well, I've got some marvellous news for you on this score.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, what I worked out...
No, you got it wrong. That's what my marvellous news is. You divided it by 268 episodes, and it's only 258. So the number's over 500 of the average, whereas you told me it was under 500.
Well, it's 497, I know.
No, but it's not, because you divided it by 10 episodes we haven't made yet. We've only made 258, not 268.
Oh, okay, yeah, because of the breaks. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So
what should our average be then per week?
Oh, I can't tell you now, but it's 500 and something rather than 400 and something. If you divide 133,339 by 258, not 268, you'll get the new answer.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, so 5 years, 2 months, excluding the breaks, obviously. And so it comes out to around 500 downloads on average. And then the latest tweaks are averaging 630 to 1,200 downloads. So we are growing, and that is a way to tell whether it's worth, we decided a while ago we're going to carry on because we love it. But, just to know whether something's growing or not, how to work it out on these limited statistics that you get from the podcast. So that's a project update. Oh, I told you about our first stranger sale on Super Live.
You did.
And I've now told you about my breakthrough on the writing front. So that's pretty much it, apart from the project of revamping everything so I'm not dependent on emails. That's my latest project.
Okay. I'll give you a small update on Project Pain Freedom.
Oh, go on then.
I had my clarity call with the woman on Monday. And I was expecting to achieve in that call stage 1 pain freedom. And she had emailed me to say that it wasn't a sales call, brackets ick, but it turned out to be a sales call. And I chose at this stage not to invest, although I expect I will at some point in 2020. To be fair to her, since she realised she'd given me one expectation but delivered something else, she's sent me a couple of follow-up pieces of the puzzle, which I appreciate very much. She wasn't very good yet at the sales call, but that comes with practice. Obviously you don't want to give away what you're selling, though I do. I feel the best way to sell is to give people a marvellous taste of what I deliver.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, she didn't do that. She held everything back in a sort of scarcity perspective. But I think I know who her mentor is now, because I've been on her Facebook page and I've seen. I'm not going to dob that person in, but you see, because her 3-stage program is get rid of pain, 2, stop it coming back, and whatever the third one is. But if you can get rid of it for free, but you can't stop it from coming back, you still need to buy the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
yes, exactly right. Anyway, so for now, I'm going to work with the Curable app, not least because I've already paid for it on the 50% off deal. It's a longer process, but I'm hoping to achieve the same end. Meanwhile, I'm pleased to have noticed a couple of things. There's very little wrong with my right knee. Knowing that alone is helpful because I can rely on it when I'm standing up and things like that. It's my left knee that's painful, very painful and difficult and wobbly. But I've only had painkillers, and I've dropped down from painkillers from daily to 2, maybe 3 times a week. So, there are some small advances here, but I've realized that I won't be reporting on this in this section every week because the changes, like I said to you last week about something you were measuring, the changes are too small week by week.
Yeah.
So unless there's a major breakthrough or I can add up 4 weeks, I won't be reporting. So that's where I am on Project Pain Freedom.
Okay. You go first on who and what's impressed.
Well, I've got two. I watched a very nice programme on the BBC this week on Horizon by Chris Packham, which was about future population threats to the planet. And normally I would swerve such things. I find it too depressing. The future of the planet is something that depresses me quite a lot. But it was surprisingly upbeat. Chris Packham is a very interesting man with Asperger's. And he had lots of very brainy boffins who I find terribly sexy, with optimistic. The economics and all the factors in population growth and contraction, absolutely fascinating. But this is not what I wanted to talk to you about in this section. I wanted to talk to you about novelist Dana Stabenow, whose 22nd book in a series I follow was downloaded automatically last week. What's impressed me about her is she makes it look so easy, and yet you and I both know that writing a novel is not easy. She has these lovely little simple looking stories with interesting characters, funny, sexy.
I love her characters.
Funny, sexy native Alaskan female detective Kate, who's smart and sassy, and her dog is a half a wolf called Mutt, and her boyfriend called Jim, and her stepson and her aunties and the criminals. It's so readable. You get to the end and you think, well, I could write that, but I know I couldn't. I know from my clients who are writers. Also, I don't think I'm a writer of fiction. I've only ever felt the desire to write my life, not make stories up, however much I love to read them and watch them. But I got to the end of it and I thought, you make that look so easy. And that's impressive.
I'm getting to the stage now where I need to put a post-it note at where I think the end of the first act might come, and the post-it note where the end of the second.
Yeah, you need to turn the app off, as Phoebe said.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to the place where your observation is so such that you stop enjoying it as a reader.
Well, I don't think you would. I think you enjoy it more as a writer once you know what's supposed to happen, so you can tell. Yeah, I think you appreciate.
Yeah, but actually, what about the lost in it? I like to be lost in a story, really.
A fictive dream, that's called.
Yeah.
Very good.
Tell me who's impressed you.
Well, you're going to like this one. You know how much we like to be down with the cool new music things.
Absolutely.
I am about to tell you about Romanian deep house music.
Oh, you lost me there.
Right, well...
Romanian deep house.
Yes, see, I'm so glad I've got something on you. I would have been very annoyed if you chirped up and said, oh, yes, and there's that DJ by, blah-de-blah-de-blah, which you have occasionally done in the past.
I do, yes. I love to surprise you in the music section.
Yeah. Well, my son Nelson's doing a music production.
Indeed. Love Nels.
And he's a DJ, and he's got this night that's now being deferred to August, and he's definitely, his music he absolutely loves. He's got a very eclectic taste. Sometimes he'll be playing Hall & Oates, sometimes he'll be playing Michael Jackson, sometimes he'll be playing a bit of jazz, sometimes he's playing dance, but his personal passion, which he's passionate about, is verging on an obsession, is deep house music. And it's not very big in the UK at the moment.
Is there somebody famous in the UK that I would know? So when you go deep house, I can nod sagely and go,
No.
Oh, yes, of course, I know. Okay,
no, it's very, very
obscure. Okay.
Minimalist. It's instrumental largely. It's not very vocal, etc., etc. So, and I know nothing about it either. But anyway, there's a lot of Romanian deep house. So there's subgenres within this, and he loves it, and it's very atmospheric. I suppose it's like Brian Eno and David Byrne did that album My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, which was all sort of really experimental stuff.
Yes, not my bag. That. Okay.
And it's really very lovely when you listen to it. It's not full on and in your face at all. It's more for listening and chilling out to than it is to dancing to. But he went through a phase last year where he thought he was going to give his degree up because he didn't feel passionate about it anymore and creative. And then he had to turn in his project, which was for the end of first year, they were to make a 4-track EP. And then this term, they're all remixing each other's music, which is interesting in itself. And but he, having to push through that deadline and get music done, he went to talk to one of the tutors because he was feeling really blocked. And he got through that, and he turned his music in, and it seems to have unblocked him because he's been making music ever since. But he felt that there was something missing, that he wasn't quite good enough, because, of course, a bit like I read the best science fiction and feel like I'll never be that good, he listens to the best deep house DJs, one of whom is named Cosmogin, Cosmjn, and he is one of Nelson's sort of heroes in this field. Anyway, so he felt he was missing something. He felt he was getting there. In his latest track, he feels is really quite good, but he felt it might be missing something. So he started sending it out. You know what you said, just show people?
Yeah.
He started sending it out, and he sent it out to several of his top DJ heroes. And Cosmogen came straight back to him and said, "There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'd love to play it. Send it over."
Oh, brilliant!
Now this kid, he plays to. I looked at one of his YouTube tracks, and it's had 250,000 views. So we're not talking about a teeny tiny underground audience here. We're talking about thousands of people in obscure locations jumping up and down. You know.
Yes.
And Nelson is so encouraged that he went back to him. He said, "You sure, mate? You got nothing to say about how I could improve it?" He said, "No, send it over as soon as it's done. I'll play it."
Great.
So, and then a couple of other people have come back to him saying similar things. So Nelson's very encouraged now to.
So Cosmogen is a DJ. Yeah.
Well, a producer DJ. So he produces his own music and DJs. And I've just tracked down Cosmogen's booking agent who books him for DJing gigs. So I've said to Nelson, "Why don't you send off a mixtape and see if you can get."
This reminds me of the thing that I forgot to tell you about when I was telling you about all those music documentaries on iPlayer over Christmas. There was one about Avicii, and this is exactly how his start happened.
Avicii?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Remember the chap that died last year? We don't want Nelson's story to end the same way, but it's starting the same, and it's probably still on iPlayer, and it was really worth watching.
Oh, okay. I'll tell him about that.
Yeah.
But it would be lovely. And the fact that he got when he was really, really very young, he got that gig at Wildlife by sending in a mixtape.
Yeah.
Tells me he must be.
Well, you're right. It is the same point. Just show people what you've created. That's all.
Yeah. I'll invite feedback. And on this occasion, it was send over the finished track. I want to play it in front of thousands of people.
Well, you couldn't get a better response, could you?
No, you couldn't. So on that high note...
Yes, lovely. All right, see you next week.
All right then, bye.
Okay, bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.